In 1968, the Sunday Times of London announced it would sponsor an around-the-world sailing race. Donald Crownhurst jumped at the chance for fame and fortune. Unfortunately, as he set sail, he soon realized he nor the boat were capable of such a voyage. He decided to start faking his nautical positions and rejoin the race near the end. Donald hoped finishing third or fourth would allow him to finish the race without officials checking his logs too closely. After months alone at sea, his mental health started to deteriorate. When Crownhurst learned via radio that only 2 boats remained in the race, he went silent. 2 weeks later, a freighter found his boat floating and abandoned about 1,800 miles from England. The chronometer and logbook was missing and the ship was set to continue sailing at 2 knots. Donald left behind a 25,000-word manifesto detailing his final days. At 5 a.m. on October 3, 1955, the Joyita left Samoa for the Tokelau Islands, 270 miles away. The trip was supposed to take 48 hours, but the Joyita never arrived. There was no distress signal and no sightings, until November 10th, when a merchant ship spotted the boat. The Joyita was 600 miles west of its route and was partially submerged. The passengers, crew, and 4 tons of cargo were missing. The radio was tuned to the International Distress Channel. The firearms, logbooks, and chronometer were also missing, while a doctor's bag with bloodied bandages were located above deck. The cause has never been determined. May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive, were the last words written by the captain of the schooner Jenny. He was found frozen in his chair with the pen still in hand by a member of the rescue ship Hope. The crew of the Hope had spotted the battered Jenny and assumed it abandoned until it saw 7 men on deck. Once they got closer, they realized the men had been frozen in place by the Arctic weather. Most reports say the crew left everyone on board, only taking the logbook, while others report that the crew buried the frozen members at sea. The Jenny has not been seen since. The Kaz-2 was a catamaran that set sail on April 15, 2007, with a crew of 3 from Airlie Beach, Queensland, heading towards Townsville, Queensland. On April 18th, a helicopter spotted the Kaz-2 adrift near the Great Barrier Reef. On April 20th, authorities boarded the boat and found everything normal, but no sign of the missing crew. The boat was in working condition, food and silverware was left out, and a laptop was even out and on the table with the engines still running. The emergency systems were fully functional, and all life jackets were still on board. The only odd thing was one of the boat's sails had been shredded, and there was no life raft on board, but it is also unknown if they ever had one to begin with. It is theorized 1 man went overboard, and the other 2 fell, trying to rescue him, while the boat sailed away. The High Aim 6 left the port of Luchu, Taiwan on October 31st, 2002, only to disappear until January 8th, 2003, when it reappeared in Australian waters. When the ship was boarded on January 15th, they found an empty ship. The crew was gone despite no signs of distress and personal items still being left on board. There was still plentiful food and fuel still unused. After the boat was found, calls were found to be made from the engineer's cell phone. Authorities traced the calls back to a crew member of the High Aim 6, who said members of the crew killed the captain and engineer on December 8th, and then they all just went home. No additional motives or details were given. 3 crew members were eventually arrested for the murders. The Octavius left England in 1761 to sail to Asia through the Northern Passage and successfully arrived in 1762. The captain decided to use the same route for the return trip, however, that would prove to be fatal. Just north of Alaska, the boat became trapped in ice and unable to move. On October 11th, 1775, nearly 13 years later, the whaling ship the Herald spotted a sailing ship off of Greenland. A party boarded the vessel and found it abandoned. Once they searched below deck, a gruesome sight awaited the men. The Octavius's 28-man crew were frozen in their quarters. The captain was frozen at his desk, with a woman and small boy frozen on a bunk behind him. The boarding party took the logbook back to the Herald and let the Octavius go adrift. The ship was never spotted again. The Orang Medan sent out a distress signal near Indonesia stating, "SOS from the steamship Orang Medan. Beg ships with shortwave wireless, get touch. Doctor, urgent." Followed by, "Probable second officer dead. Other members' crew also killed. Disregard medical consultation." The third message would be its final one. Simply, "Crew has." Rescue vessels approached the ship that was listing in the water and found multiple crew dead on their post. Before they could investigate any further, explosions were heard and the ship sank. The dead crew were said to have all been on their backs, with frightened faces, staring straight ahead with gaping mouths. No survivors were located, and no injuries were visible. It's possible fumes from the cargo being hauled killed the crew, or possibly even nerve gas to carbon monoxide poisoning have been suggested. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. We will see you next time.